Hello, my name is David DiCorpo, and welcome to my kitchen. On tap for us today, an America's Test Kitchen recipe, foolproof vinaigrette. A few simple ingredients, a couple of tips and tricks, and you'll have something in your refrigerator arsenal that you'll want to have there all the time. Let's get started. In a non-reactive mixing bowl, I already have 1 tablespoon of good quality champagne vinegar. For this recipe, you could use red wine vinegar, white wine vinegar, whatever your preference. In my pantry today, I had champagne vinegar, and that's what I'm going with. I also have 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon each of mayonnaise, we'll talk more about that later, and good quality Dijon mustard. One more ingredient to go in here, a minced shallot. Shallots generally come clumped together and they will have a flat side. Mine happen to be very large today, so I've peeled off the skin, and in order to make it easier for mincing, I'm going to cut it in half and give it a nice stable base. With a small sharp paring knife, best tool for this, I'm going to cut parallel through, but not quite all the way, parallel to my board. Make a succession of small cuts vertically. Turn the shallot and mince right through. For this recipe, we want about 1.5 teaspoons. And that should be enough. 1 full teaspoon and 1/2, maybe a little bit extra in there. Clean up my board. And we're going to whisk all of these ingredients together. This is going to be the base of our foolproof vinaigrette. I just want to make sure that I have no lumps of mustard or mayonnaise. And that looks pretty smooth. Now for one of the tricks. Oil and water don't mix. In our case, oil and vinegar don't mix. They don't like to be together, they like to separate. You've all had vinaigrettes that have separated. With this, we're not going to have any separation. We're going to emulsify everything together. Emulsification is simply a way of whisking everything, slowly adding your olive oil and whisking together, creating tiny droplets of all of the components. That's going to form a nice dispersion of everything, and they will stay together. I'm going to hold my bowl with my third hand, which is simply a clean kitchen towel wrapped around the base. With my whisk going, I've got 3 tablespoons of good quality extra virgin olive oil, and I'm going to slowly whisk it in. Want to make sure to keep everything moving. And if you start to see the oil pooling on top and not mixing in, stop for a minute. One of our tricks here is that we already have an emulsified ingredient, the mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is a combination of egg yolks and an acid, usually vinegar or lemon juice, with oil. So that emulsion is jump-starting our emulsion. Drizzle in, continue to whisk. The last of it. And we are done. One perfectly emulsified dressing that is going to stay that way in your refrigerator for up to a week. At this point, I'm going to add a little bit of fresh cracked pepper. Whisk that in. Give it a taste for seasoning. Perfect. And now I'm going to dress my greens. I've already thoroughly washed a mix of spring lettuces, put them into my salad spinner, and spun them dry. You want to make sure that your greens are dry so that the dressing clings to every little bit. This recipe will dress approximately 8 to 12 cups of loosely packed greens. I'm not going to do that much today, so I'm going to use a little bit of my dressing and have the rest in my refrigerator for a later date, perhaps for another dish. Want to add a little garlic? Let's add a little garlic. We don't want to be biting into pieces of garlic, especially when we're eating. So what I'm going to do is peel my garlic, smash it with the flat of my knife, and remove the peel, cut it in half, and I'm going to rub the inside of my serving bowl with this garlic clove. This is going to give a nice hint of garlic without giving you little pieces of garlic to bite into. Add my greens to the bowl. Beautiful farmer's mix from one of our local southern Georgia farmers. Make sure that everything is whisked. A little bit of my dressing. You don't want to drown your greens. You want everything to be nicely coated, maybe a little bit more. Give it a quick toss. Grab the stray and put it back in your bowl. Everything is nicely coated. And for presentation today, I'm going to do it on a plate and add a little bit more. So onto my plate it goes. And it just so happens that I have a tomato sitting on my cutting board. With my serrated knife, best tool for a tomato, I'm going to make a few slices to dress my salad with. And I also happen to have a basil plant. When I buy my fresh herbs at the grocery store, I always like to see if they have the organic plants instead of buying the prepackaged. I get a lot more yield and a bigger bang for my buck. Couple of the large leaves. And we're going to do what's called a chiffonade. Turn it into those pretty little ribbons by rolling it up into a tight cigar. You can also do this with large leaf salad greens, such as kale or romaine. And then I'm simply going to run my knife through the cigar. Nice ribbons of basil. And a little finishing touch on our salad. That's it. That's our foolproof vinaigrette today. An America's Test Kitchen recipe from my kitchen. Thanks for joining me today. I hope to see you again real soon.